Okay, welcome everybody to today's webcast. We're doing HathiTrust 101, Search and Collection Builder. I'm here with our User Services Librarian, Angelina Zaytsev, and I also have with me Jessica Rohr, our Member Engagement and Communications Specialist. So before I turn it over to them, I am going to go through a little bit of housekeeping with you. We have a lot of people on our webcast today, so we're asking that everybody keep your camera and your microphones off for the duration of the webinar and use the chat window to ask questions. We are recording, and slides and the recording will be shared with you all afterward. All right, and also a live transcript has been turned on. There's the CC button on the bottom of your screen if you need captioning. Remember though that these are automated captions, so we're gonna see HathiTrust spelled all kinds of goofy different ways. All right, now I am going to turn it over to Jessica to get us started.
Great, thanks Melissa. Thank you all for being here. I saw Angelina do this presentation a few times since I've been at HathiTrust. She is definitively the expert on searching the catalog, basic search, advanced search, collection builder, the user interface in terms of viewing the book and how to do that. So she is going to cover it all. I know she's got a lot of material, but we have reserved time for questions. You can type them into the chat at any time. It will likely be towards the end of the session that I will go through and read them out loud to her. But if you have it in mind as you think of it, just drop it in the chat and we will get to it. Before I turn it over to Angelina, I wanted to give a really brief overview of what we're talking about when we're talking about the HathiTrust Digital Library. So by the numbers here, we've got 17.4 million volumes in the collection. That breaks down to a certain number of serials. We've got some duplicates in there, but overall, we've got a very, very large collection to search and explore. So 39% of the collection is available in the public domain in the United States. There's about 4.4 million titles that are then available more globally. So just remember that the contents of the collection were contributed by HathiTrust members. More than 60, I think fewer than 70 members do contribute digitized content. So everything that's in the collection is coming from an academic or research library. If you look at the collection from a high level, it is very much reflective of many academic and research libraries in North America, in that by language, we're representing about 51% English, lots of texts in the Romance languages, but certainly then we get down into the 455 other languages that are also included in the digital library. So Angelina will talk a bit about searching in non-English or even what's the word I'm looking for? The the different languages. Angelina will get there. So also keeping in mind that the Library of Congress classifications again represent what is mostly on shelves of academic and research libraries in North America. So we've got strong showing in various humanities and history, the literature, but we also have a strong collection in music and also philosophy. So you'll find that the collection itself reflects, again, those libraries that have contributed the content over the past 12 years. Sometimes people ask, what is the benefit of finding titles in HathiTrust versus some other online digital library or Google Books? Again, it goes back to the benefits of building this collective collection by academic libraries for academic libraries. So all of the metadata was created, in an academic and research library environment. So that just makes those titles in HathiTrust more easily discoverable for scholarly work. So that is one really big difference, is just the way that the cataloging has happened over time really reflects more what people are looking for. HathiTrust also has enabled citations that you can download in APA or MLA format. It's another reason to use HathiTrust for your research work. And the details of faceted searching, again, Angelina will cover this in more detail, but keeping in mind that these are just some of the ways that HathiTrust is distinguished from other online digital repositories. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Angelina.
Thank you, Jessica. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen with the HathiTrust Digital Library homepage?
Yes, I can see it, Angelina.
Thank you. So thanks, Jessica, again for that intro. Thank you, Melissa, for getting us kicked off. I am Angelina Zaytsev. I am the User Services Librarian at HathiTrust Digital Library, and I hope that I am able to answer any and all questions that you have today about using the digital library. So I've pulled up here to begin with the homepage for the HathiTrust Digital Library. And the first thing that you always want to do is to log into HathiTrust with your university account. Please emphasize this to your users as well, that logging in provides you with access to all the benefits that you are able to receive. So I'm going to go ahead and click the login button, search for my institution, University of Michigan, which is where all HathiTrust staff are based. And you can also scroll through the list or search for your own institution, hit the continue button, and then I arrive at my regular login screen for the University of Michigan. So when your institution joined HathiTrust, we worked with the IT unit on your campus to set up your university login with HathiTrust. So you don't have to create a new account, you just need to select your institution and log in with your existing account. So I am going to do that, hopefully spelling everything right. I did it right this time. And then it's sending a prompt to my phone for my two-factor. So there we go, I have approved it. And I am automatically returned to the HathiTrust homepage. One other thing I want to mention is that generally you do not want to use a library proxy when accessing HathiTrust. That can really slow down the experience and interrupt your experience. So just emphasize to your users logging in with your university account. The primary feature of the homepage is the search bar, which has two modes, full text search and catalog search. You can enter whatever search terms you want into the search, or you can do a null search, which searches across the entire collection by entering an asterisk and then hitting the search button. This could be a way to browse the HathiTrust Digital Library without having to specify a specific term. The default search mode when you are using the HathiTrust Digital Library for the first time is full text search. So this allows you to search within the text of all 17.4 million books in the HathiTrust collection, and there is also some limited bibliographic metadata searching. Generally, I would advise you to avoid using really generic terms in full text search because you can easily get millions of search results, which are really hard to then sort through and get anything relevant from that. So my topic for today's demo is Frederick Douglass, which I am having a problem with spelling today. So I'm going to go ahead and enter Frederick Douglass, hit the search bar, and as you can see, that phrase search brings up 573,000 results. And that's because our full text search is finding every single book where the word Frederick and the word Douglass appears anywhere in the text. So I am really interested specifically in the abolitionist and former enslaved person, Frederick Douglass. So I'm going to put quotes around my phrase and hit the search button. And we go from 573,000 results to 73,000 results. a more manageable list, but still a lot of works. One other thing to note about the default search mode is that this full view only checkbox underneath the search bar is selected by default, and that limits your search results to all books that you are able to view the full text of. If you want to change that, you can go to the sidebar where the search facets are listed and change your item viewability search facet to all items. In the search facets, this is also where you can limit your search by language, as Jessica mentioned. So we show the top 30 languages in HathiTrust, and we have over 400 languages. So you can search by faceting your language searches, as well as doing facets by subject, author, and other facets. So one thing I want to talk about while we have these full text search results pulled up are the different item labels that you might see in your search results or in the digital library. So this first work here has an item label of full view, visitor reactions to the recreational fee demonstration program. This looks like it is a federal document. And it has a full view label, which means that this book is either in the public domain or we received permission from the author to make it available in HathiTrust. And full view means that you can access the full text of the book in the library, and members can also download the full text of the book. Scrolling down, another label that you might encounter is the temporary access label, as we see for Frederick Douglass, a precursor of liberation theology. So that temporary access label means that this book is available through the Emergency Temporary Access Service. It's copyrighted, but if your institution has activated ETAS, the Emergency Temporary Access Service, you'll be able to check out the book to read it online. You can't download temporary access books. Scrolling down a little bit further, another label that you will encounter is limited search only, as we see for In Memoriam Frederick Douglass by Helen Douglas. So limited search only means that this book is copyrighted, or we don't have enough information about it to make it public domain, to mark it as public domain. And so we can't provide read or view access to this book, but you can search within the text of the book. So that's a little bit about the access labels you'll encounter in HathiTrust. So this was a search that we did in full text search, but if we switch to catalog search, we'll see a different set of results and a different number of results. So we had about 90,000 results, I think, for that full text search, but now we see 244 catalog search results. And this catalog search allows you to search across the catalog records of the HathiTrust Digital Library. It's best for known item searches, known author searches, subject searches, the typical ways that you might search within a library catalog. So this mode also provides you with the ability to facet your search results by different methods, and you can open books from this search results page by clicking the full view links, or navigate to the catalog records to learn more about this book. The catalog records that initially load are our public version of the catalog records, so we only provide a limited set of metadata fields in this public version to avoid confusing users with all the extraneous information that we librarians think are very critical to cataloging, but that users tend to not care about. But if you want to see the full MARC record of this book, you can click the View HathiTrust MARC Record button to enter the mark record mode. One thing about our catalog records is that our catalog records come from our contributing institutions. So the catalog records reflect the cataloging practices of those institutions. There may be some issues or mistakes in the catalog records. And when we get multiple copies of a title from different institutions, we do our best to cluster these records together under the same cluster record so that duplicate copies are associated together. And in that case, we select one of those records within the cluster to represent the work in HathiTrust. And that's a process where we work with the California Digital Library to manage our catalog records. So going back to our search options, in addition to full text search and catalog search, we also offer advanced search for both of those options. So I'm going to show you a little demo of how to use advanced full text search. This search mode is particularly useful. I find that it's particularly useful for combining full text searches with catalog bibliographic metadata searches. So when you click the menu by full text and all fields, you can see that there are specific bib metadata fields that you can search by, such as title, author, subject, publisher, series title, and ISBN, ISSN. So I use this feature in particular to search within the entire volumes of a series. I'll select title or series title, enter my search term, and then select the specific phrase, select only full text, and type in the specific phrase that I'm looking for. And that means that I don't have to search across like the entire HathiTrust collection for my very specific search. So for my demo today, what I am going to do, I'm trying to track down an early version of Frederick Douglass's speech, "What to the Slave is the 4th of July, which has been printed under several titles, and I want to find the earliest version of that speech. So I'm going to select full text and all fields, type the date, July 5, 1852, which is when he delivered the speech. And I'm going to limit my search to records where the author is listed as Frederick Douglass. All right, I'm going to hit advanced search. And we get 79 full text results. I want to see all 79 of those in one page. So I'm going to flip the items per page to 100 results. And then in scrolling through this list of results, eventually I will find Oration Delivered in Corinthian Hall, Rochester by Frederick Douglass, July 5, 1852, published in 1852. So that is the earliest version of this speech. So that's a little bit about how to do full text searches and catalog searches. So now I'm going to go ahead and open this work so that we can talk a little bit about the book viewer application. So this book automatically loads in scroll view, which allows you to scroll down and up through the book. Along the right side of the screen, there are several different functionality features for interacting with the book, such as being able to zoom in and out, rotating pages, and you can also change the view mode, how the book pages are displayed. So the top one, view plain text, displays the OCR text of the book. And this mode can be particularly useful to your readers to your users who have print disabilities and they are unable to view the image versions of the pages. So they can switch to the full text mode and read the book using their screen reader and other accessibility technology. You can also recommend this mode to faculty and students because it can allow them to easily copy and paste the text of the book. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that the plain text mode is displaying the OCR of the book. And typically our OCR is generated automatically. It has not been corrected or vetted by a human, so it may display errors in the OCR. So you may find that periodically the OCR has wonky characters. Another page view mode is flip page scans, which I sometimes use to just like browse quickly through a book. You can also enter the thumbnail mode, which gives you like a high level version of the book. So I want to go ahead and open page scan 35 because I see that it has annotations in the margins, such as this injustice remark. Yes. One thing else, another option that you might find useful for yourself or for your users is that if you need to read the book in the HathiTrust interface, which is particularly true for ETAS books, you can minimize the surrounding elements of the page by first hitting the full screen button, which will expand the page in the HathiTrust browser in your window. And then along the sidebar, there is this collapse sidebar button, which will hide the sidebar and make the book page bigger. And that, like, this mode is really intended for reading the book online. Okay, so I'm going to escape that mode. There are other features that we have built into this interface. Notably, search in this text allows you to search within. Wow, I am having spelling problems today. Search in this text allows you to search within the text of the entire book, and it will provide you with a list of the pages that contain your search term. And depending on the time of day that you may be accessing the HathiTrust Digital Library, you may sometimes find that things get a little bit slow as we have increased traffic. So here we have 2 pages that had my search term New York. And when I go to them, my search term New York is highlighted in the page. Along the sidebar are additional options. Under About This Book, there is a link to the catalog record, but there is also a rights statement that tells you what the rights and access are related to this book. So this book has a rights statement of public domain, Google digitized. I can find out more about what that means by clicking the link, which opens our access and use policies page. And you can read here about all the different access and use policies. Under Get This Book, you can typically find a variety of URLs, but the most common ones are Find in a Library, which takes you to WorldCat. So you can find a library that has the print version of this book. For books that were digitized by Google, you can also find at Google Books. This is particularly useful in cases where Google Books and HathiTrust have determined different copyright for the books. Google, of course, has way more resources than we have, and they're sometimes able to open books that we're not able to. We also have different copyright philosophies, so we open books that Google's not able to do. But you can, if you have a limited view book that you can't access in HathiTrust, you can sometimes check the Google Books site to see if their copy is available. Under Download, you will find a number of different formats for download. we have been adding additional formats for download recently. PDF has been available forever, but recently in the past few months, we added EPUB and text formats, which are both derived from the OCR of the book. And you can also select image downloads of the image scans. You can also select whether you want to just download the specific page that you're on, if you want to download the whole book, and if you only want to download a few pages, say you want to download a chapter of a book or a specific article, you can select those pages by clicking the checkbox that is in the upper right corner of each page. So you can select a variety of pages. They don't have to be next to each other. You can also go into thumbnail view to select from this option. And if you're on a Windows machine, you can select the first page, hit Shift, and then select the last page of your range, and all the pages in between are selected. I'm not a Mac user, so I'm not sure what that functionality is. I think it's Command maybe to do that select all functionality. But that will allow you to select multiple page ranges so that you can download the pages you want. So before I go on to talk about Collection Builder, one thing that I wanted to mention to you all is that coming soon, we will be updating this book viewer mode. We have been working to improve our book viewer interface to make it easier to read books in our website. So that will come out in the next 2 to 4 weeks, and we will make this available in a beta mode, and users will be able to switch between the new and the old versions and provide us with a lot of feedback about the new version before we roll that out and make it required for all users. So going on, one thing that we wanted to talk about today was building and using collections in HathiTrust. There are a number of reasons why you might want to build a collection. Faculty might want to build a course reading list or collect related materials for a research project. They can also build a collection in order to then take that collection from HathiTrust Digital Library and port it into HathiTrust Research Center into their Workset Builder tool. You can build bibliographies with Collection Builder, or you might want to build a collection in order to share a list of works with other people. And also, one of the primary functionality of collections is that you can search within a collection that you have built. Anyone can build a HathiTrust collection. Logged in members can build a collection, but guest users can also log into HathiTrust with a guest account, such as Gmail or LinkedIn, and then build a collection under that guest account. If you are collaborating with other librarians at your institution to build a collection, or you're collaborating with a faculty member, for example, to build a collection, we don't have the option to have multiple owners for a collection. So the best way to create a shared collection is to create a shared Gmail account or other guest account, and then log into HathiTrust with that Google account and create the collection under that Google account. So that's a way to collaborate on creating collections. To create a collection, there are 2 ways to add books to those collections. So I'm going to show one way, which is by creating, doing a full text search. I'm going into advanced full text search because I want to do a author search for all works by Frederick Douglass. And so I get 157 results for my author search. I'm going to change the items per page from 20 to 100. And then I'm going to check this box that allows me to select all on page. And now I can either select an existing collection that I have, or I can just create a new collection, which is what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to click the add button. Then I'm going to create my collection, give it a title. I can add a collection description, make it private or public, and then hit save changes. And 100 items were added to my collection, Frederick Douglass. So from here, I can go ahead and open my collection to edit the collection. Another way to add items to a collection is to open a book in the book viewer application. And in the sidebar, you will have your options to add to an existing collection. So this item actually is in my Frederick Douglass collection already, but I can also add it to a second collection if I have multiple Frederick Douglass collections, and those collections will be listed in the sidebar. So adding a collection manually from this interface can be a good way if you need to vet every single resource before you add it to the collection and want to go through your search results one at a time. Once you have your collection, you can manually edit the collection to remove books. For example, if you have duplicate copies of a title, you might want to delete the duplicates from the collection so that you only have one copy of that collection. You can search within the collection, which can be particularly useful. So here I am searching for David Ruggles, who was an abolitionist that provided Frederick Douglass with space to say after Frederick Douglass escaped slavery. And there are 67 books in my collection that reference David Ruggles. So I can learn more about him by then navigating to the books, performing the search within the book, and finding the pages that reference Ruggles. Another thing that you can do with Collection Builder, with collections, is downloading metadata. So if you want to do a little bit of light analysis of the books in your collection in Excel, for example, you can download a tab delimited text file, which you can open in any text editor or in Excel. And there is also the option to download a linked data JSON file. So that JSON file is intended for integration with the HathiTrust Research Center workset builders. So after downloading the metadata file, you would then navigate to analytics.hathitrust.org, which is the HathiTrust Research Center portal, and navigate to worksets. You can log in with your HTRC account and then upload this JSON file into the workset builder to run different HTRC text mining tools against your collection. One other thing I want to mention before I wrap up here is that we, in addition to being able to view your own collections and other people's public collections, you can also see a list of featured collections. And these are collections that HathiTrust staff have created in combination with our member librarians. So you'll see a variety of different kinds of featured collections. One of particular interest, I think, is the US Federal Documents collection. So this is an extremely large collection of 1.3 million works and captures all of the known US federal documents in the HathiTrust Digital Library. So if you're a FedDocs librarian or you know a FedDocs librarian at your institution, you might want to mention this as a resource. This collection is updated monthly, I believe. So there may be a tiny bit of lag as items are added to the collection. And another featured collection that we make is public domain day collections. So in advance of every January 1st, as we are looking forward to another batch of materials rolling into the public domain, we typically make a new public domain day collection 1 to 2 months in advance of New Year's Day, so that we can see what books are going to enter the public domain. We typically share out that link via our newsletter. So that can be a fun way to explore what is going to become open and available. Okay, I have run through my spiel and I am happy to take any questions that you all have. Feel free to type them into the chat box. And Jessica or Melissa, are there any questions that I should answer?
There's a couple. Yeah.
Cool.
So Robert asks, what is the best way to limit one's search to music scores?
So that is actually a common, we have a format search facet. So under original format, you can find that we both have music and musical score. So that's where different cataloging practices at different institutions can cause some confusion in our searches, but you can search for music scores that way.
And what is the best format for one to download if they are visually impaired?
So that will actually vary depending on your users and what their preferences are for accessing the books. And it's best to just check in with your user, find out what format they need. Public domain, the PDF formats that you can download from our digital library contain the images of the pages as well as the OCR, and those are compiled in the same PDF page. So you have both the image and the OCR. EPUB and plain text formats can be easiest for just reading the book immediately. However, the thing with our EPUBs and our plain text formats is that we don't have the sections or the headings indicated in those files. That is not something that we typically get in our book metadata. And a big accessibility practice is to make sure that headings and chapters and sections and titles and all that are accurately captured and identified. So you might need to actually do a little bit of editing and working on the files before you pass them on to your users.
I think another thing too, Angelina, is that I think that's Robert Rich from Vanderbilt. And I do know that Vanderbilt uses the accessible text request service as well, which is specific to downloading any title in the HathiTrust collection for a user that is print disabled. And so there's some additional work that you can do outside of just that book viewer to support those patrons.
Yes, and the that ATRS service is providing your registered staff member with access to everything in HathiTrust, even the copyrighted books. Yeah.
Another question from Amanda. If I was helping a patron and could not answer a question, who is the best person or address to refer them to?
Oh, that's a great question. So in our website, if we have this feedback link that's in the header as well as the footer of every page of our website. And when you click that, you'll get a little pop-up form that you can fill out. And you can submit that about a specific book or specific catalog record, and that form captures the book or catalog record. And those messages go to our user support team, of which I am the team lead. These are librarians and staff members from our member institutions who are contributing their time and energy and knowledge and expertise to HathiTrust on a as a service to the community. So we don't really provide in-depth reference services, but if your users or if you have general questions, you can fill out this feedback form, or we also have our email address, which goes to the same place, feedback@issues.hathitrust.org.
Peggy asks, I noticed when you did your search within the full text contents, you searched Frederick Douglass. Is this doing a phrase search or individual words?
So the first time I did it without quotation, and that doing it without quotation marks like that will search for each word individually. In order to do a phrase search, you should use quotation marks around your phrases.
Okay. Elise asks, can you show us how to search for an article, in particular issue or volume of a journal?
Yes. Let me think of an example. Okay, Collier's Magazine. So that was a pretty popular magazine, I think before the 1950s. And let's say we want to learn allies, something related to World War I. Oh gosh, am I about to reveal my terrible knowledge of history? Okay, so we have 1916 issue of Collier's Magazine, very likely to actually be about World War I because of those dates. So if you know the title of a particular article that you're looking for, you can enter it in search in this text. And I would again recommend using quotation marks around the text. So that can be a way to search for a specific title. You can also check the contents listing to try to navigate to the table of contents for that work. Wait, what's it doing? And that will show you a listing, hopefully, of the different table of the articles in that work. The contents here that are listed here are also automatically detected, so they may be hit or miss at times. Yes. Hopefully that answers that question.
Maybe Peggy was looking for clarification on those search terms inside the contents of an actual book. So if you'll remember, she asked if Frederick Douglass was a phrase search or individual words.
Oh, okay. You can do both. So New York, the first time I did the search for New York, it's looking for the two words individually, and you can kind of tell that because New is highlighted in yellow and York is highlighted in green. So right now it's handling the search as individual words, but if you put quotation marks around it, it's doing a proper phrase search, and the highlighting is yellow for the entire phrase. It's perhaps not the greatest example to show that, but hopefully that answers the question.
See.
I see there are a lot of messages in chat.
We've covered all the questions so far.
Okay.
Did you talk a bit about downloading metadata? Because I know that's one.
I
Can't,
talked
I
about it.
think you touched on it briefly, right?
Yes, yes,
Sorry.
with the collection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that there's a lot of different ways to get data
Mhm.
about titles.
Are there any other questions or anything else that I could demonstrate?
Here's another question. If we put a temporary access item in a collection, does it go away when ETAS access ends?
No, it will still, that item itself will remain in your collection. The label on it, however, will change from temporary access to limited search only to indicate to you that the book is no longer available to you for access.
Another question from Margaret. Is there a way to exclude duplicate titles from a search?
No, there is not. So the to go down a rabbit hole, the question of duplicates is something that comes up pretty frequently, and like we spend a lot of time debating the value of having duplicate titles, duplicate copies, what is a duplicate, and like we bring up Ferber and stare at that to understand what we're talking about. But generally, our policy is that having multiple copies of the same item, of the same manifestation, of the same title are good things, especially because a lot of the HathiTrust collection has been digitized by mass digitization processes where they tend to like scan books really fast, and that can result in quality problems. So a quality problem in one book can result in a quality problem, a quality of one problem in one book may not be replicated in a different copy of the book.
I notice Eric is suggesting that Open Refine is a great way to remove duplicates. That's great. Dan asks, can items be added to a collection from the search results list?
Yes, yes. So you can do full text searches, and I'm just going to do Apple, my standard search. And I think I said this, but you can add items from a full text search, but you can't add them from a catalog search result. And to add it from full text search, you would select all on page, or you can manually select the checkbox next to each item to then add it to your collection. Any other questions? Yes, Cheryl, I did say that you can only add full text search results to a collection. There's just the catalog search is built on a different part of our infrastructure, and it does not integrate with Collection Builder. So you can either add items from full text search results or by manually going into the item that you're interested in and use the sidebar to add it to the collection. We're hoping to be able to make it part of catalog search someday, but it has to wait on a larger change in our search infrastructure to be possible.
We don't currently have any more questions.
Okay, I will stop sharing. I can stay on for a few more minutes if anybody thinks of anything else.
I think that
I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
just a reminder to everybody too, if you have questions or your users have questions, you can send them to feedback@issues.hathitrust.org. I just popped that in the chat. For those of you who are in the HathiTrust Slack community, we will be having a live user support session next Thursday at 1 o'clock. We've got members of the HathiTrust user support team that Angelina was referring to, who will be there to answer any more burning questions that you might have beyond just the digital library. They can talk about quality issues, they can talk about copyright access. So if you didn't get your question answered now, or you haven't thought of it yet, check that out next week.